Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tata Steel round 2, the chess was as eventful as ever. Huge missed opportunities, some crucial wins for some players, and we have to start looking at some of our candidates and how they're going. Because they're not going well, some of them. I know the room looks a bit darker, I don't know why. It's lit as normal, so forgive me for that. But we've got 4 amazing games to look at. Every game I don't cover is a draw. I will never not cover a result, so keep that in mind. The first game we have to look at is Erdogmus versus Aravindh Chitrambaram. I think I butchered his last name, from India. And, Erdogmus plays e4 and we get a Sicilian defense. And we get a fighting Sicilian. We get an open Sicilian and we get knight to f6. Which is one of the main lines. It's the main line. We get knight to c3, knight bd7, and g4. Yeah, just straight up g4. When you haven't got the knight on f3, you can do this. In various variations of the knight off with a6, there's the freak attack, which is just rook g1, and then g4, g5. So, Erdogmus woke up and chose violence. We get h6, which has to be played. Now, not bishop e3, h4. Just continuing the attack, a6, and now bishop to rook to g1. We're now officially out of anything in my database. Sorry, I was looking at the database wrong. So now it is just purely, what do we have? They're playing purely on instinct. Genghis Khan, by the way, is down 30 minutes on time. It's unbelievable that you would play like this and not even be in your prep. So we get knight to c5, queen to e2. And now g6. As black, you just gotta ignore this and pretend white is a crazy person. They're going to obviously castle long. So you can prepare for that in typical Sicilian fashion. You can launch your own counterattack. You can get your bishop to slice the board. You've got an active knight here on c5. You've got this knight which puts pressure. It can jump into the center. You just got to get your king to safety and survive and launch your own attack. So we get g5 now. H takes g5, pawn takes g5, and now knight fd7. You can maybe try and make the argument that you can play knight to h5, but your knight struggles to return to the game there. And it does close the h file for any attacks from white, but you want it to be useful. You want it to come out this way. So we get knight f to d7, bishop to e3, b5, and long castles. And this game is just going to get wilder. So we get bishop b7, bishop to g2, rook to c8, typical Sicilian idea. You're putting pressure on the c file. We get f4, rook h2, rook h1. We trade off a set of rooks, and now we play b4. Black is not castling. Their king is just staying dead in the center. Yeah, unbelievable. We get knight to d5. It was attacked, so it jumps to the center. We get e6. And the tactics here are just mind-boggling. Firstly, Genghis Khan is down an hour. He's down an hour. He's got to this position. Now, white is slightly better. They just have a better initiative, and their king is quite frankly safer. Now, an argument could be made that you can sack this knight. Because takes, you've got discovered opportunities against the king. But the tactics don't work out just yet. So we take this pawn first. Now queen b6, and now you have to play c3, defending both knights simultaneously, but you're still very much in this pin. So we get knight takes e4, we get dropping back to c2. So the thing is, you could take this, but then takes, and your knight's hanging, so then you've got to come up with something better. So it's rather better to play the knight back to c2, defend this. This is still under pressure, because you would like to take that light squared bishop. So now we get knight e to c5. Also, there's this discovery, just by the way. So you have to block it. Now, the best way, according to the engine, is to play queen to 7 in this position. You could also play this knight forward, bring this knight forward, which I think, practically speaking, is probably a better move. You can keep your queen there. It is a problem with the pin, but you're still threatening this knight. You can always drop back to c7 or to d8, but get this knight in the game. Instead, we get knight e to c5. Now we get this incredible move, knight d5. You can't take, because you lose. I take here, I win the queen, it's check, you lose. No problems. So, knight to d5, queen goes to a5, now we take this, now I take your knight. Very important here. You don't want to take this. I mean, you can, but you'll lose because of b4. And this b4 move is important because this is what Genghis Khan Erdogmus is relying. It's his only move, really. But he mistimes it. So we get queen a5. And I'll explain that in just a moment. Bishop takes, bishop takes. Takes here. You can't take the bishop back, but you can take here. You can take c5. And this loses to rook h8. Rook h8 or rook h7. But now he plays b4. What he misses is that Aravindh has knight d3 check. And here I can take, and now I get the bishop back. I hit the rook, so the queens are forced off, and this position is a draw. This position is a draw. Genghis Khan does well. Eventually, the pawn will get traded off. There goes one pawn. There goes a couple more. We pick up this. We don't trade off just the rooks just yet. You might try to fight this off, but here the play is really sped up. And the game ends really beautifully with this rook b4 check, which is beautiful because you take the rook and it's a stalemate. So Genghis Khan misses a huge chance. But the first result of the day came in this game. Vladimir Fedoseev versus Vincent Keymer. Vincent scored a very impressive win yesterday. We have a mainline-ish Nimso Indian. I think they're almost out of theory already. You don't see this very often. We get the bishop traded off. We have the knight go backwards, and it's just a very dynamic position. Fedoseev has got active pieces all over the place. All black's got is this bishop putting no pressure on, and this knight which could trade. Your bishop is still stuck. Your rook is playing passively. Your queen should probably have come out already, or you should have played like d5. So already we got to look at Keymer. So we get knight back to e8, which is not helping. Now c5, queen c7, rook ac1, f5, queen b3. Can leave the knight to hang because I threatened the bishop. Bishop drops back, and now I drop back to d2. And now you play b6. Instantly, Fedoseev is winning. He plays the beautiful knight to d5. The idea is very simple. When you take here, I play the only winning move, which is queen takes d5. And thereafter, when you block with f7, rook f7, I take here. Now, it looks like you simply lose because rook hits queen, queen hits bishop. But there is queen takes, but now I follow up with knight to c4. Completely winning. Bishop to b7, I take the queen, you take my queen, and I take the bishop. And this endgame is completely winning for Vladimir Fedoseev. He finds a nice little tactical shot, he attacks the bishop, he keeps the rooks doubled up, he consolidates his position, he trades off one set of rooks. That's always the easiest way to win a rook endgame. He threatens the rook, it got stopped, but he wins the pawn. He continues to harass Keymer's pieces, not allowing him any activity whatsoever, not allowing him any counterplay against the king. He consolidates his position very beautifully. It takes time for him to convert, but he's playing good enough moves the whole time. And after rook to d3, 44 moves, Vincent Keymer resigns, and Vladimir Fedoseev scores a very nice victory indeed. Really important because he bounces back from a terrible defeat yesterday. Sorry, go back. We were looking at Fedoseev and Keymer. So Fedoseev, you can see, lost to Hans Niemann in the first round. That was that incredible blunder. So now we look at the next game. Which is fascinating, I would say that. Just double checking which game it was. It's this one, I believe. Anish Giri, Yakovar Sindarov. Sindarov yesterday doing very well against the world champion. Missing a huge chance, or not missing a huge chance, he got away with one. Gukesh sacrificed the queen, had mate on the board, but missed it. So Sindarov lives to, fight another day, I suppose. And here we get this interesting line from Anish. Early trade of the dark squared bishops. He's got that lovely light squared bishop in that Catalan fashion. As both players have brought their rooks, they've developed. You know, we trade off the bishop for the knight, leaving us 2 knights versus knight and bishop. And, you know, we're going to target white structure, moves like this in the future. First c6, queen moves over to c3, rook d7, knight drops back to c1. Now we get knight to f5, just putting as much pressure on Giri's position as you can. Sindarov playing very, very well. And Giri makes a mistake. b4. Knight takes d4. Bishop takes was the idea, but there's check. Now, unfortunately, check is the wrong move. The best move here is just queen takes c6. I assume he was worried about rook takes, but what you have here is rook takes d4, queen takes d4, and simply rook c8. And there's another weakness. Because you do not have rook e4, the knight covers that square, this pawn loses. And if you push it, I just take it. Take here. You're just down a pawn. Sindarov converts this easily. So unfortunately, he misses the idea. He plays knight e2 check, he takes, and now he takes the bishop. But this allows you not to win that second pawn, which is the key difference. So now the material is balanced, queen a4. So Giri gets away with 1, and gets away, quite frankly, with murder. Because he trades off the rooks into this endgame, this knight endgame. Now, being down 20 minutes in this position is not bad. They've got, you know, still only 10 moves to make until time control. But it is incredible. Because Anish Giri, I don't know if he's holding back some candidates prep or something. He trades into this king and pawn endgame. With 13 minutes on the clock against 49. 13 minutes on the clock against 49. King and pawn endgames are some of the hardest endgames in chess to calculate and to play. They come with so many practical challenges. And here he blunders the game. He plays c5. Which loses. Loses for 1 move only, you take here. Because I assume Anish's idea was to take, and he would just be pushing everything. But now there's king e6. And if you play f4, I play f6. F takes e5. King takes e5, I'm still in the square. And now what do you do? Now what do? You have to give up, you have to play, the only move you really have is king c6, and now I play king d6. If you push again, I take, I win the pawn, and it's over. But that's not what happens. So we get c5, b takes c5, takes c5, and you have to play king e6. We get king e6, we get f4. But a5 was played. And now it is a draw. Because of c6. The difference is you wasted a move. You could have played f6, which is what you needed. And unfortunately, for Yakovar Sindarov, he gets away with it. He gets away with one yesterday, he misses a chance today. So perhaps all is fair. And we move to the final game. And now we have to talk about a candidate. Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu yesterday destroyed with the black pieces against Arjun Erigaisi. He has the black pieces again, so a really rough start. We play a Queen's Gambit decline. That almost looks like it could have come from an exchange Caro-Kann. We get the structure. You know, again, you could take this. Just by the way, if you're interested, you can, but it's not ideal. You kind of ruin the structure. So rook b8, a5, c6, a4, so a4, a5, knight still out, it comes back to the center, and this is very symmetrical game. So symmetrical, in fact, this position you would never imagine a grandmaster loses. With an hour on the clock, 20 minutes until you get almost another hour added. How do you lose this? Well, black can lose this because this pawn is a weakness. And they have very much weakened their queen side. White structure remains pretty much all together. The one weakness is perhaps this b pawn and the a pawn. If you can try and win it. You know, you could probably win this in 2 moves, like here, and you win it. It's an asset for white, because if you can remove this, it's 2 squares away from queening. So let's see how this endgame unfolds. We get rook fc1, rook fc8, and now b3. b4, now knight to a4. Rook b5, knight to e1. c5, we take, knight takes. We get this massive exchange. And you've got to be careful in these endgames, trading all the pieces. Knight to d3, rook to b5, f3, knight jumps into c4, which is brilliant, by the way. Brilliant move. Double exclamation mark. Because it's a knight sacrifice that you can take here. But the idea is d takes c4, and you have to defend these two passed pawns. Which is not as easy as it looks, because knight c1, b3 is coming. And b2 is coming. Now you have to play knight e2 to stop this, and if b2, you have to play rook b1, and thankfully you can coordinate just well enough to stop this. But black is gonna get this and get a third passed pawn. So you can just about survive. So knight to c4, instead we get king to f2, now the knight gets in the way. So rook to c1, we take here, rook all the way to c7, and d4 from Praggnanandhaa. He was insistent on trying to get all of this through, and he just loses to rook takes a7. I told you several moves ago, if you lost that a7 pawn, this pawn is 2 squares away from queening. Now knight to c5, we get this trade, but now e takes d4, perhaps is what was missed. Rook to c6, rook a8 is a mistake, and now it's level as black's pawn runs down the board, and now we get jostling on the king side. But rook b8, an incredible device allowing you to take, and now this endgame should never be lost. Never. 4 on 3, all on the king side. The only strength white has is to push a d pawn, which is not easy to push because it's so central. All of this is symmetrical. Should never lose this. Rook a2, harassing the pawns. We play g3. Rook g2, loses. Why? f4. And now you have a problem because king e6, d5, check. King comes forward, check. And I am marching my king and my pawn up the board. f4, we take. And now the king is safe. And you still can't get at the weakness. Check. Force the king over. Now I've got to get to e5. And now I can get in here. And now there are mating threats all over the place. Rook d3. We take here. Mate is threatened. And this game is over. Praggnanandhaa is lost. He gives check. We get king e5. You take here. But now king d6. Rook a3. We go here. And now f6 is his final chance. Rook e1. And eventually, after rook takes h4, he is forced to resign after king to d5. And Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu has now lost 2 games in a row. He lost to Arjun Erigaisi, and he has lost to Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Every other game is a draw. So if we go to the overview, maybe let's change screens, because you can only see half the bloody page. So let's maybe go here. There we are. All is resolved. Boards, official website. Let's look at the standings. It's going to take us to a very ugly website, but we'll look at it. Tata Steel. So in the standings, first place is Hans Niemann. Second place, Nodirbek Abdusattorov. And third place, Arjun Erigaisi. All of whom are tied on 1.5 points. So it looks like this. 3 players, 1.5 points. Hans, Nodirbek, and Arjun. 1 win, 1 draw. Then we've got Tie-Dye, Yegiz Khan, Matthias Blubom, Vladimir Fedoseev, Gukesh Domaraju, Johan van Forest, Aravindh, and Sindarov, and Vincent Keymer. All of whom have made 2 draws, except for Vincent. He won a game and lost a game, which is interesting. Anish Giri lost and then drew today, so he's on 0.5. He's on half a point, and then there's Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu, rock bottom, on 0 points. Now, there are still 11 rounds to go, and he has had a rough time. But do we need to start talking about the form of Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu? The hope for a lot of fans was that the next World Championship match would be Gukesh Domaraju versus Praggnanandhaa Rameshbabu. If he's in this form in the candidates, he will be eaten alive by Fabiano Caruana, Yakovar Sindarov, Hikaru Nakamura, and so on and so forth, by very, very good players. Maybe he's holding back. He's holding back prep, he's holding back his level of play for the candidates. But if this continues, we need to have conversations, because it will affect your form going into such a major tournament. But that's just my speculation. What do you think about that in the comments, ladies and gentlemen?